Welcome to my video on time management and fashion. Fashion tips, the Chris Crofts wardrobe. And I was thinking about this because I think if you've got the priorities of what are going to affect what you wear, comfort should be number one. Then I think, unexpectedly perhaps, time should be in there as well. You want the most time efficient wardrobe. Third is looks. Now obviously people who are really into fashion put looks above comfort, but that's just ridiculous. To wear something that looks good but is uncomfortable, I haven't got time for that. That's just ridiculous. And finally, I think money comes last. Now some people buy clothes just because they're expensive, or some people buy clothes just because they're cheap. And it seems to me that even if you have to spend a bit more than you want to for something that you're going to have for years, that's probably worth it. But don't waste money on something just because it's expensive. So I think that money is almost irrelevant. What we want is the most comfortable thing that's also really time efficient. If it looks good, fine. But really that's vanity. Who cares what other people think about your appearance? And in fact, most people don't care about your appearance. Most people aren't even looking at you anyway. So we waste so much time and effort worrying about how we're going to appear to other people. So I thought it'd be fun to tell you what I wear most of the time. You'll see that at least I do live my principles. So first of all, my favourite garment of all is probably this t-shirt. Now I've got about 10 of these. I would say my first clothing tip is don't bother with cotton t-shirts anymore, go merino wool. So the thing about merino wool is it's warm when the weather's cold and it's nice and cool when the weather's hot. And it's really comfortable. Every time you put it on, it feels soft. And the other thing about merino wool is you can wear it quite a few days in a row. You can wear it for a week, really. And it still feels lovely and new when you put it on. Whereas a cotton t-shirt, if you wear it even a second day, it sort of feels horrible and greasy. But this, you can wear for a week and it doesn't smell either. I discovered this on my trek to Everest Base Camp, where we were all advised to get merino wool undergarments, and it is just brilliant. So for me, merino wool t-shirts are an absolute must. That's my first tip. Now, my second tip is to get things that zip up the front, because if you have any kind of top that doesn't zip up the front, like for example this, now this is great, it's warm, it's snuggly, it's nice and soft, there's no zip in the front to get in the way. But the two problems with this are, one is you can't make it any less hot. If it gets too hot, you've only got that much zip. And secondly, to put it on and off is a bit of a hassle and you get static in your hair and everything else. So it's actually not a very practical garment, this. It only has a very fine temperature range when it's spot on. So I like to wear tops that have a zip down the front. So I started with this, which is probably my favourite garment of all time. And I must admit, it probably looks a bit scruffy, but it's so comfortable. And what I like about this is kind of a wool knitted thing. It's from Nepal, actually, but you can get them from sort of markets where they sell Nepalese clothes. So it's wool on the outside, and then it has fleece on the inside. So it's really warm. But the great thing is it zips up the front. So if you're feeling a bit cold, you can have it like that. And if it's a bit warmer, like this. And if it's really warm, you can have it like this. So you don't have to keep changing your clothes. It's just adjustable as you go. It's got some pockets as well, so it's pretty practical. So this is my absolute favourite top that I wear most of the time. Cost about £50 as well, so it wasn't even expensive. It has got a hood. I don't really care about hoods because you're never going to wear the hood up. So ideally, I probably wouldn't have a hood, but if it has a hood, then it has a hood. Now, other zip-up tops that are a little bit smarter are as follows. I got this from Rohan. It's one of my favourite shops, Rohan. And you can see, again, you can just zip it up to the right warmth level that you want. You can put it on and off without getting your hair all messed up. It looks like sheepskin inside, but it's just fleece. But it's a little bit of a smarter fleece. Another Rohan fleece that I got that I really like, I quite often wait till they come up in the sale and then I get them, is this one here. So again, it is just a fleece, but it's really quite thick and warm, and it's got a slightly sort of a knitted pattern on it. So it looks like, there's a few dog hairs on there, it looks like a sort of knitted sweater, but actually it's a fleece. Again, zipping up the front, so it's really practical. It's very warm if you want it to be, or it doesn't have to be that warm. And you can wear it indoors. It's almost smart enough to go and visit some friends and wear it indoors and not look as if you're planning to go out any minute. The final fleece I want to show you is one that I wear at work, and this also came from Rohan actually. But this is just a thin, very boring grey fleece. And I wear this when I'm going from my house to my car or my car to work to do a presentation, run a course. I wear this on top of a smart shirt that I'll show you later. And it just keeps me warm when I'm driving, because you don't want to be driving in a really big thick coat, but you need something on top of your shirt if you live in England. So just for scuttling from the car to the building, maybe it's raining, maybe it's a bit cold and windy, then just a grey fleece like this is perfect. And you can wear a jacket on top of it, or you can just quickly take it off and put your jacket on. So zip up the front fleeces of various kinds, I think, are probably my favourite items, apart from obviously my merino wool t-shirt. Now, you do need some sort of a coat to go on top of that, some sort of waterproof coat. Now, you can get coats that are both warm and waterproof, but you don't want to get both combined, because then if you don't need the warmth, if it's a warm day but it's raining, it's no good. Or if it's not raining and you don't need the waterproof part, it's no good. So I would have something warm, this or these other fleeces I've been showing you, and then a waterproof shell on top. And I've got two waterproof shells that I like. This one's really thin, again, zips up the front. It's incredibly lightweight and thin. It's just sort of stretchy, rubbery material, but it is 100% waterproof. I think it's probably for cycling, but I use it mostly for walking the dog. It's only short. But the great thing is it's so lightweight, you can pack that in your luggage. It just packs down to absolutely nothing. But if you want something a little bit more meaty, then you could get a proper waterproof jacket. But again, don't worry about the warmth, because that's going to come from your layers underneath. So I particularly like this one. Again, has a zip right up the front, doesn't go over your head. This is a jacket I've had for years. It's actually not quite as waterproof as the one I just showed you, but it's pretty waterproof, and it's got a hood you can open up from inside. So you've got to have some sort of waterproof shell jacket if you live in a country like England, or probably most of America, that's for sure. Now, one other useful item if you're going out and it's possibly going to rain is a hat. And I really love this folding hat where the brim actually folds, because it means you can put it in your pocket. It's tiny, and if it rains or if the sun is hotter than you thought, you can just undo this hat and put it on, and it's pretty much waterproof. It's certainly showerproof, this hat. It may not look the best, but it keeps the rain off, it keeps the sun off on a hot day. So I do love my folding hat. Now let's just get on to footwear. This is a little bit controversial. My family and my friends hate my shoes, but comfort and time are more important than looks and money. I would say my favourite shoes of all time, which I'm wearing at the moment, are these Crofts. I'm sorry, but they are. These cost £25. They're really, really cheap. And these particular ones, they're black, so people don't really notice them, but they've got the furry inside as well. So these you can wear outside if you want to walk your dog, or if you want to nip out to the garden and get some logs for your fire or something. They're waterproof. They have a few holes in the top to let your feet breathe, but you can walk in wet grass and things like that, and they're absolutely fine. But they're also really warm with the furry insides, which are washable, by the way. So these are just the perfect ultimate indoor and outdoor shoe. They're so soft and squidgy, they're really comfortable. And what I would say is, don't knock Crocs until you've at least tried on a pair. And one other thing that's good about these is this bit. So you can either have it flipped up and just wear them as clogs and just slip your foot in like slippers, or you can have it like this and then they stay on. When you put your foot in these, you can run with them on. They're not going to fall off. They're so versatile. They are the most brilliant shoe. And I'm not on commission. And Crocs make all sorts of other interesting shoes as well. So they make some really good sandals if you're going somewhere hot or the beach. These are completely waterproof. You can get them wet, doesn't really matter. And they're just made of one piece of plastic, but they're really soft and comfortable, and they're so squidgy and so light. They are completely brilliant in hot countries. They only cost about £25 as well. And you can get reasonably smart Crocs as well. So if you look at these, you probably wouldn't know that I was wearing Crocs, unless you look at the underneath. You probably wouldn't know I was wearing Crocs with these. Again, not expensive, leather tops, I really like them. So I'm a big Croc fan. You don't have to get Crocs, but what I'm really saying with shoes is just get really comfortable ones. And these ones that I'm wearing at the moment are unique. I mean, those other ones are imitations of other shoes, aren't they? But these, there is nothing like them that I've seen. A couple of imitations have been made recently which aren't as good. For work, obviously you have to have smarter shoes than Crocs for work. I like Lokes. Now, Lokes cost £100 to £150, but you only need 1 or 2 pairs for work. And I really like Lokes. I would recommend getting black shoes, because if you get brown shoes, it's really hard to polish them. If they get scratched or something, it's really hard to get the original lovely colour that they come with. Whereas black shoes, you can polish them and you can make them last pretty much forever. You can put soles on them, have them re-heeled. Some of my Loke shoes I've had for absolutely years. So black, reasonably expensive shoes. Just don't worry about the money, because if you're going to be wearing them all day, you want to make sure they're comfortable. And I would have more than 1 pair, because you don't want to wear the same shoes 2 days in a row. You need to let them dry out and breathe for a day before you put them back on. So you need 2 pairs of black Lokes. Now, while we're talking about work, you can't just turn up in a Merino t-shirt. So what are we going to wear at work? And this is what I wear at work. So I basically like to imitate a doctor. I'll stand on here so you can see my trousers as well. So I like to wear some sort of chino type trousers and a blue and white shirt, basically imitating a doctor, because doctors are important people who know what they're talking about, who we trust. And that trust thing's really important. So you just want to look respectable and trustworthy. I actually find these trousers are better than a suit, because suits have to be dry cleaned, which is a complete pain, whereas these you can just stick them in the washing machine. And also I have a little rule, which is have trousers the same colour as your dog. So when I had a black dog, a suit was great, but I've now got a sort of brown gold coloured dog, and so these trousers actually have quite a lot of dog hairs on, but you can't see them. So this is my doctor outfit. And by the way, I would recommend a shirt that has long sleeves, and you can either have the sleeves down if it's a little bit cold, but mostly I think you should roll the sleeves up, because I think that's a good image. It looks like you're really getting down to doing some work if you've got your sleeves rolled up. And that's a much better image than having a short sleeved shirt, because short sleeves can't be worn with a suit, so they're not as smart. They're a little bit nerdy. Definitely not short sleeves with lapels, by the way. So proper shirt, spend a little bit of money on a decent shirt. This one comes from Charles Tyrwhitt. I think it was only about 25 or 30 pounds. So that's what I would wear at work, obviously with black shiny Loke shoes. Oh yeah, so one more tip about belts. I don't know whether you noticed this belt. These sort of woven belts, I never paid much attention to them, but these are stretchy, elastic type of belts, and they're really, really comfortable. So you pull your trousers in tight, but if you've had a bit of a big meal or you're sitting down for quite a long time, these stretchy elastic belts are absolutely brilliant. And you can see that when I'm wearing more casual trousers, I still have one of these stretchy belts, but this one's black. You can get them grey as well. By the way, while we're on the subject of trousers, I think you probably only need 2 types of trousers. You need some jeans. I quite like black jeans because they're a bit smarter. You can get away with wearing them in some places where they wouldn't really like you to wear ordinary jeans. So I've got some pairs of black jeans that I really like. I got some Levi's in America that are made of slightly stretchy material, which I find really comfortable. Much cheaper in America than they are in the UK. And then these trousers, these are actually Rohan stretch winter bags. So these are stretchy and they've got a couple of layers, so they're incredibly warm as well. So that's what I wear in the winter, because it means then I can quite often wear just a shirt or quite a light top and I'm still warm enough because I'm not losing loads of heat through my jeans. And jeans are not good in the rain either. If they get damp or really wet, they're very cold. So it is worth having some slightly more techie trousers for when the weather's bad. Now, something we haven't talked about at all is fancy jackets. I am a bit of a fan of leather jackets. For example, this one. And I do love it, but actually it's not really a good idea. It's a bit of a waste of money because leather jackets are quite expensive and they go out of fashion quite fast. So you spend lots of money thinking you'll have it forever, and then 5 or 10 years later it doesn't look fashionable anymore. The other problem I found with leather jackets is that they are too hot a lot of the time. If the weather's at all hot, or you have to do any sort of exercise, run somewhere or something, they get really sweaty. But also, if it's cold, they're not as warm as a proper outdoor jacket. So they have a very small window of temperature when you can wear them, and they're not good when it rains either, because you don't want to get your leather jacket wet. Could ruin it. Got to be very careful about how you dry it out again if you do get it wet. So no good in the wet, no good in the cold, no good in the hot. They've just got that little moment, perhaps in the autumn, when they're great. But really, I think, although I think they look nice, they're not great. Also, can you wear it indoors? You can wear a fleece indoors if you're visiting some friends. But if you wear this jacket indoors, it really does look like you haven't taken your jacket off yet, or you're planning to leave in a minute. And the final problem with leather jackets is they're quite fragile, so you have to be really careful not to scratch them or tear them. Whereas a fleece, you could just wear it without thinking. I do like it though. It's hard to resist getting maybe just one for going down to the pub in, or going out with your friends in maybe. But yeah, I probably wouldn't go on to an obsessive search for the perfect leather jacket and end up collecting loads and never wearing them. Now, my final garment that I really like is a buff. And this is a warm one, so it's got a sort of woolly part as well as the normal part. You could probably justify getting a woolly one and a normal one. But what's really good about these is they're great if it's cold. They're much better than a scarf, which falls off. You have to keep wrapping it around and things. So with this, you just put it on. So it's much more snug than a scarf, but it's also really good if you're in a hot, sunny place where your neck's being burnt round the back of your neck or whatever. So I would take a thin buff if I'm going somewhere hot, and a warm buff if I'm going somewhere cold. But I would recommend a buff. I think that's a great article of clothing. So there you are. Those are my top clothing tips. I hope you found it useful and amusing to see into my world. I think my top point though is, don't worry too much about what you look like, because other people don't care and it doesn't really matter. Go for comfort above all, but also think about time efficiency. You want something you can wear all the time. You haven't got to think about choosing it. You haven't got to keep changing it every time the temperature's different or you go indoors and outdoors. You just want something that's easy and comfortable. Bye for now.